rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On our Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Committee will please come to order. Do we have proof of posting in accordance with Chapter 551?
Yes, we do.
All right. And that is in the Texas Government Code is amended Texas Open Meetings Act. Any members of the public who wish to speak shall each have 3 minutes. If there are none, then if it's agreeable with everyone, let's go to item 10, so that you don't have to sit through the whole meeting. You're welcome to stay if you would like to, but oftentimes if we have a lot on the agenda, we'll move someone up so we can free up your day. Is that agreeable with everyone?
Sure.
Item number 10 is the agreement for assessment and collection of taxes between Freestone County and TIG ISD. We do have, this is an agreement for assessment and collection of taxes. We had an agreement in place, and this is just amending this basically to say that TIG Independent School District will hire their own tax assessor collector for delinquent taxes.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
For the delinquents.
For the delinquents only. And you have a copy of the agreement there if you'd like to look at that. Talks about the terms. But that's the basis of it. I know y'all have already looked at it and have, it's been talked about before, so are there any questions from anyone? Any discussion? All right.
I'll make a motion if we enter into this agreement with them so they do.
Between the county and the
city and the school.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carried.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Now, you're welcome to stay if you want to.
Well, let's have it all.
Come on, Ken.
Let's send this with them so they will have a, they need to take that and get it signed by their people too.
Okay.
And then we'll get that back.
Okay.
All right, now we'll go back.
Here's exactly what deals we'll pass it around.
All right. Did you
Two
want
of them.
2 copies.
All right, you want to do it right now?
No, ma'am, we're just trying to get.
Oh, well, no, it's okay, it's on
Okay.
there.
It's on there.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll do it, yeah,
Okay.
okay. You jump in again.
Item number 1 is to approve the minutes of the October 18th regular meeting. Can you have copies of all of those agreements that we did, that will be scanned in with this?
I'm not sure.
No, what agree? Were you
Oh,
here this?
on the minutes,
On the
yes.
minutes, okay.
Yes, I can take those.
The crimes victim coordinator, how much time do they spend? Are they here in our county or are they in another county? Full time?
They've been, it's part-time, but they have been, working under a grant, and that grant has stopped.
But that salary on it, on number 24, we probably should look at that. I don't have my stuff with me, but, with the
Well,
deputies.
that's kind of like we do with part-time. We set an amount, but then they come in a timesheet.
Exactly,
And
but
it's paid by the hour.
That doesn't look enough.
that's not near enough
Yeah,
money that's in
14
here.
14,000.
What's in there?
14,000.
768.
I didn't even notice that. Well, that, is probably just covering from now until we get the funds.
That's correct. Well, I was just going along the lines of how the deputies are. We're not gonna pay out the deputies 50,000 or the jailers 40,000. That's their total, what their salaries are brought to.
It
It's
says
two- it's
to pay
figured two
all
different ways.
salaries until the SB 22 funds are received.
Right. So the deputies won't be getting
What's
50,000.
the difference what they're making now,
Because
50,000?
all those totals right there are more than 75, or more than we have in the budget to pay. 14,000 total for her for those 3 months, but if we do it like that, we probably should do the amounts for the deputies and the jailers, how much we'll spend out for those months. It's figured one way for the crime victim coordinator.
Well, but what's wrong is, we're paying only the difference between the 75 and what the sheriff paid. So those two figures, we're not paying the whole 50 out of SB 22.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
14 is probably right.
Well, either way, however you want to do it, 2 need to be changed or
Well, it
1
says-
needs to be changed.
Well, we're not gonna, once,
Designation of funds for SB 22, so I'm assuming that's what's being paid out of 22.
I think if we word it, because it's, what we voted and said is correct, but if we add language in there that's on the following salaries, the difference between current
Difference
salary
between-
Yes.
and this, and then there should be a period after the 40,000.
Right,
And then start a new sentence with crime victim coordinator.
because we're only doing the difference between that
and we're not,
SB
once
22.
SB, we're not paying the victims
Well,
coordinator
that-
anything. It's all coming out of SB 22.
That's
isn't it?
That's right.
Well,
So that's
what
the
this
difference
is-
between it and the salaries, because we're picking up the I mean, we're not, all we're funding the victim coordinator is that figure until that's, because we don't do anything past that, unlike these other two we're talking about. It's
But
not
that
in our
amount
budget.
still is not gonna be,
Right.
that amount, I don't know where the 14,768 come from, so I don't know
Okay,
where that amount is.
I don't need,
It was written down on a piece of paper, each salary were that day of, on October the
And
eighteenth.
it said 14.
All right, the crime victims coordinator fund has stopped, we're not getting that grant
yeah,
money.
understand that.
So we will be paying the amount of her salary right now.
Until we get the money for SBA.
We'll be paying it.
Yeah.
We made that transfer to be able to pay that, and then we'll reimburse. But the 75, for example, I don't know what Jeremy was making, 50-something, the difference in the 50-something and the 75 is what's coming out of that SB 22. And, you know, so if we said it and just put the difference
Right.
to come out, that would make it sound correctly, but we will be paying up to 14.
Yes.
Yes,
But it needs to be reworded.
Yes.
yes, correct. So, how do you want to say that? The motion was, Mr. Bonner, it's not in the cloud, so we gotta make up some words here. Pay the
To pay the difference.
difference in
of-
salary until the SB 22 is received.
That's your fix.
The difference in
Difference
salary.
in budgeted salary.
And since there is no salary for the crime victim coordinator, it would be the 14 that's being
Yes.
paid. But it's the difference on those other two, those first two.
Okay.
All right? We have a motion with those corrections. Is that correct? Who made that motion? Usually Andy makes the motion.
Okay, fine, yes, ma'am,
With that correction.
yes, ma'am.
And do we have a second with that correction?
Second.
All vote aye. Motion carried. Item number 2, budget transfers and amendments. We have two sets.
The 23, the long list of them, that finishes up and gets us all of our line items.
So these are actually September, no,
2023. Yes, for September.
yes, they are for September, the year end. Even though it says October 31st, 2023, they are for,
Well, that's just the date of the,
right.
yeah, today's date. I always just put whatever date we approve them up there. Yeah.
What?
Nothing, just says the following list of 2023 budget transfers to cover the shortage. 2023 budget transfers. And there's also the budget amendments in there, and all that is everybody, all of the different ones, the line items there that had money left from donations and from grants, or whatever is in the 86 fund, it's just transferring them from 23 to 24. So, and you'll see there's a $5,000 in there, into the 086, 670, 650 for the, whatever the amount that we took out for the capital credits, the unclaimed capital credits, to put the piece of the furniture or whatever that the court decided to put out front. And then for senior services, and the sheriff's office has a little bit left from last year.
You have a motion?
Make a motion to approve budget transfers and amendments.
You have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Fund 86.
Any opposed? None, motion carries. Item number 3 is to approve and pay the bills.
Mhm. I have,
I'm just curious.
I have, yeah.
The ARPA money on the sand and gravels, did somebody start using theirs?
I did.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay.
Yeah, all sand.
Yeah.
Carol, mine on, page 27,
Uh-huh,
where I got fuel, it's showing out for repairs and maintenance.
okay,
I know that's
we'll fix it. I'll fix that.
pretty nice to get that email from Amanda. Over the weekend, you sit there and look at it, got all your bills and everything on it. Do y'all get it?
I got it.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it.
Okay.
I didn't make it this time. Sometimes I'll open
It's in
it.
the cloud.
We try to do that on Fridays, by Friday
Yeah, it's
afternoon,
good.
so that y'all, you have a chance, can look at them.
Now, like this ARPA money, if we wanna, we've got it in text pool or whatever.
And so we have to transfer it,
Yeah.
like I've transferred a little bit for him.
Did you just get a little bit as we need?
That's what we did.
Okay,
Yes.
it didn't have a complicated deal?
No,
Okay. I didn't figure it was. I
We
didn't
just
think-
have to have enough time, so I have time to transfer it,
Okay.
if I do that. From
What's that
text
mean?
pool.
4 or 5 days,
No,
week?
no, not even that long. Just a
Okay, I'm
couple.
just curious. I hadn't touched it, but I.
Once you
we're
know
have
you're
to.
gonna use some of it,
Yeah,
if,
yes.
get with Karen and y'all can look at what it's gonna be and
So
then.
it won't go through it just, great, okay, it's
we
not.
just, yeah, we took about 50,000,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
cool.
Didn't take long to spend it net,
No.
For sure about-
1 week.
I'll make a motion to pay the bill. Is that where we are?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Any opposed? None, motion carried. Item number 4 is to approve the payroll.
We got one there.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion for the payroll.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye? Any opposed? None, motion carried. Item number 5 is reports. I have a September report for JP2, September report for the county clerk, and a report from the extension agent. Does anyone else have a report? details what, all has been worked on for this month. And it's a lot. Anybody else have a report? We do have a report, the IT report. If you want to give an update on anything?
Well, there's some, at the bottom of it, I have some kind of recommendations or thoughts, but those are gonna be for longer discussions and decisions, but I just wanted to bring them up as possible considerations if we want to do forward studies on them to evaluate, see if it makes sense or not. You know, obviously, it appears to me the biggest problem that we're having is with our power outages. I mean, it's hard on the systems, it's shutting everybody down, it's just an ongoing issue, and I think it's been dealt with. At first, I'd like to recognize Jeannie as well, because she's just been a tremendous help through this transition period. But Lloyd is working to get some power drawn over here from, you know, that's in process on getting the phone systems and the switches and everything connected through the sheriff's office, but that takes care of one piece of the puzzle, of the issue that we have. We had 2 power outages this week. I walked around, I think it was, what was it, Friday we had a power outage? And I went around, just, I think I came and saw you, walked around just sporadically different offices, looking at UPSs, seeing if they were, the battery backup, seeing if they were active, if they were live. These outages are extremely hard on those systems. And for further discussion is a possible solution. I believe to be looking to see if there's any way to go with like some kind of solar, which would act as a UPS. Could also potentially do net pricing on it. So in other words, whatever we're generating electricity, we sell back to the grid. I know there's a lot of solar activity going on in the area. Maybe we can leverage what's going on in the local markets with equipment stuff. And a lot of grants, I believe there's a lot of grants out there that could be considered as well. But I think the one thing is getting the power issue is our biggest concern. It's an ongoing.
And you said that most of our UPS.
I haven't gone through and looked at everything, but I believe a lot of them, when we're having these outages, it's draining on those batteries and then it's reloading them. So I believe you got one over in your office. He's actually managing his, it appears, that he's pulling batteries out and doing some replacements. If you don't do that, then when the systems are dying, when the electricity's going out, everything's just been cut off and it comes back on and it's just like really a shock to the system. And it's a problem with our switches downstairs, which is going to be addressed hopefully by this generator hookup, a lot of that. But at the end of the day, the power is the #1 concern I'd have, as well as productivity. You know, when we're shutting down electricity here, I think just the productivity of the personnel, lost production time, I believe is probably enormous if you're able to add it up. But that's like I said, it's a matter if you guys want to evaluate that. If you do, I can do a study and present it back to you and give you more in-depth consideration. But I think that based on what our options are, that would be the ultimate solution.
Thank you.
What he's talking about on that line, we're just having basically coming off a record in the jail and having a hard conduit line run into the boiler room so that when the power goes off, generator comes on, our main phone system, the main brain to the phones is in the boiler room. So when we lose power at the courthouse, everybody loses their phones and even the sheriff's office loses their phones, the landlines. So this will allow those phones to keep working even if there's no power in the building. But as far as people calling the sheriff's department directly, they'll still have that landline communication because the generator will be running that box as power.
It shut down all the switches, no switches feed everything. Brian had a number of issues going on last week, because he, all the stuff's fed over to his building. It just, Windstream had to come out and replace a switch, which caused some IP changes, and so, anyway, it's just an ongoing issue I think needs to be addressed. I think that will resolve a lot. I think it'll make a lot of people happier too, not have their systems getting knocked down all the time.
Thank you. Any other reports?
I got a couple of things. This past week, I had a meeting with the extension agent, with Ms. Davis and the A&M vet team about some livestock evacuation stuff, just a plan. Her and I are going to work on that and look into some stuff on it and just see what we can do as far as that goes. Some other things, a couple annexes I've got this November that are going out, expiring, so I'll be updating those and getting them turned in. And then there's a grant that'll open up in December. It's 100% funded. We don't pay anything unless what we ask for is more than what we get awarded. So I was going to apply for that and put in for a new repeater site to add to the current one we have, or a voter site to add to the 4 that we have currently, and increase that communication infrastructure for all the emergency services in the county.
Thank you. Sounds good. Anyone else? Mr. Sheriff, you don't have any kind of report for us?
No, ma'am, there's always something going on.
Okay. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to accept the reports?
Make that motion.
I say.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 6 is burn ban.
No action.
No action. Item number 7, any road use agreements? We do have special road use agreement or pipeline crossing on county roads. And this is with Atmos Energy Corporation. There are 2 of those.
We already went through that agreement, didn't we? That we looked at it? Is that standard one we've been using? Y'all been using?
That's what it's going with that.
There.
And it does have a list of roads.
Yes, ma'am.
There are 2 of them there, 2 different lists.
Let's see their
2
copies.
copies. I think they want 2 copies.
Just 2 copies.
No,
of
they
it.
weren't one we keep.
So we just have one. Okay.
Give that one around.
Any motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Are there any other road use agreements? If not, we'll go to item number 7. I'm sorry, number 8, which is to approve bonds and education certificates. We have one certificate from Daniel Rothstein, which is 26 hours, property tax assessment and collection. Have a motion to approve that.
Make that motion.
I say.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 9 is to cancel the November 1st regular Commissioners Court meeting, which is tomorrow. Do I have a motion on that?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. We've already done number 10. Number 11 is an agreement for information technology products and services and an agreement for microfilm storage for the district clerk.
contract, same as it's been in the years past. That's on my recording, machine from Avenue, my ACS recording machine.
It's $510 a month, and $2 a copy for, is an addition to that. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yes. Motion on that?
Avenue Enterprise, is that same, or is part of the Avenue Insight, or is that different company?
It's Avenue inside, I believe.
Okay. I'll make the money.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Item number 12 is a discussion on the hardware to be installed in the deputy vehicles. Are we ready for that discussion, or are we?
No, we can discuss it. I mean, I guess my first question, like anything, is this being paid through a grant? Is this part of the system? Do we know? I'm not fully abreast of that. Does anybody know? I figured Sheriff Shipley would be here and he would know. Okay, so it's on us. It's not a grant. So this would be my recommendation to consider looking at. A lot of the people that are quoting are going to quote you the latest and greatest technology, which is going to be your most expensive technology. You can buy other computers and setups at a fraction of the price that may be the last generation. In other words, like what was in 2022, they can't sell it anymore, so because they're coming out with a new model 2023, right? And so you can buy this 2022 model in a lot of cases a lot cheaper than the newer version, but it's going to facilitate the same and do the job. You know, a lot of what I think that they're quoting us on this, you still get your tough book and all that stuff. The thing is that when these guys are doing the quotes, they're quoting these like they're, you know, we got 500 officers up there, you know, as far as like data requirements. Sheriff and I were talking yesterday about 2 terabyte requirement on another project, and it's just way overkill for what we're looking at. So I would, if it's not coming out of grant money, right, Sheriff? That's correct, out on the car, computers and such.
So, say that again?
The computers for the cars, the tough book and install, that's not part of grant money, right?
No, I'm gonna go out for a grant, our technology grant, and I hope covers some of it,
Okay,
but as of now, no.
yeah. So it's just a decision to be made. I mean, I think we could shop it if we want to go with, you know, like last year's version that should do the job. A lot of this equipment's, you know, it's new. It's not like it's been used or beat up or anything. It's just last year's model. And
When will that grant be awarded?
We've been waiting for them to even open. We're constantly checking every week or two, so when they open, because they open all at different times, so, I really expected it to be open in October, but it hasn't yet, so, I mean, it's gonna be a good while, because things, even a normal grant, our normal grants won't come in for about 8 months maybe. Yeah. So, but when one pops open, I'm gonna go out for the technology grant to see if we can get this covered, some of what we're doing covered.
I was just wondering about the timing on it.
Well, right now, I guess we have essentially started, even though we haven't started putting anything in, because we can't yet, until February or March.
So it's, you know, it's just kind of a, and these two quotes are, you know, there's a sizable difference between them, roughly what, $45,000 between two quotes, but I believe that there's some differences in there. I mean, but the computers themselves are, you know, they're 50% of the total cost. So if we can live with last year's model, if we can find them, and that's part of what you run into, I might be able to go out and find 10 of them, but he needs 20, right? So so you run into some of that type of things, and making sure, which I don't see any reason that eForce, because eForce has been around for years, right? So if you have a department, you know, 5 years ago, they were using the same tough book type technology. So just a matter of we're good with using last year's version.
On this Peacemaker, what brand is that laptop that they're quoting?
I'm under those, I believe they're all they're the Panasonic
The GTS
tough book,
says-
FC55, which is, I believe both quotes are based on that.
I know the GTS is Panasonic for sure.
Right,
I'm not
it
sure.
identifies, the other one doesn't say.
Yeah, there's some difference, and then there's a thermal printer, and that's all in one quote. I didn't see none of that. And that's, once again, gets into your ticket printing. One quote's got it, the other doesn't. There was a docking replicator in one quote, the other one wasn't.
They're gonna be taking them out of cars, or are they gonna be primarily in cars?
I think they're gonna be primarily in the car, but we were talking about that the other day. I mean, technically, we could take them out of the car and just bring them into the office if we needed to, but that's.
Yeah, I mean, the system's got a docking station, and some of these quotes, right? So you have a docking station, so the officer comes in, he pulls his unit out of the car, you know, put it in a docking, which should make it live for him to have access to it, like his computer. So he's got all his data there, and he continued to work it, plus he's doing a charging on the battery at the same time, so it'll tie it back in. I think that that's probably the way to go.
So they're not gonna pull up down there, send it to the cloud, and walk inside, get it out of the cloud?
No. They'll put it private. The cloud is tracking the GPS and all that type of stuff whenever they're putting it, and he can do an upload. It's just like these cameras. When he pulls up to the sheriff's office, and they'll connect to the server to load into the cloud. Okay? So there's a data transfer at that point. So when we get into the AT&T communications and all that we're talking about on the system, which is really our biggest issue right now, one of the biggest issues, I think, for launching this part of the system, that data is more of a GPS and cellular connection. It's not really loading everything up to the cloud until it gets back. Once it gets back, as far as all his reports and data, all that stuff's on his computer. Then when he comes back and he docks it, or there's a data transfer, and now it's going to the cloud. That makes sense.
Got it, Andy?
I got it, baby.
You got it, Andy?
I got it.
But, you know, it's, once again, our biggest threat to the timely launch of this, these tough books or in-car system is the cellular connectivity. We spoke to Motorola yesterday because they're supposed to have some SATCOM type of technology that we're going to get, would put an inquiry on. They're supposed to see if there's somebody who can get back with us and talk to us, but basically satellite communication. Because the county's got so many dead spots, right? So if you don't have a cellular connection, whether it's AT&T or whatever, or satellite, you gotta have. I got this new phone, good examples, I got this new phone from the county the other day, you know, I've got me on this first responder service. I didn't know what it was, so I'm kind of like FirstNet. I'm like, well, cool, I should get service all the time because it's priority service. I'm driving home, I just kept an eye on it, and I went SOS in about 5 locations.
Yeah.
So the cellular connection down here is right up there with the power. I mean, especially if you launch the system, because I don't know how much sense it's going to, maybe it does, that's the sheriff's decision, we launch this thing, but his guys get out in the field and they're up in a pasture and they got some emergency going on, he's going to have a hard time communicating with dispatch because there's no service. They'll know where he's at because there'll be GPS and that's going to work off satellite, but they're not going to be able to communicate. He's not going to be able to tell them what's going on. They're not going to be able to tell him what they need done. So it's a big priority. I mean, it's a big consideration of what we're doing. And even when we were talking with Motorola yesterday, a couple of the guys, they've mentioned they've been through Freestone County a few times, and they even indicated, they said, yeah, you guys are got some issues going on down there. Food for thought.
We have issues with our 911 addresses in Workton. I'm sure Kelly can contest to that because you call the sheriff's office and tell them, you know, where you want to send an ambulance to, and they don't always go there.
Well, and those 911 addresses need to be verified. I've run into that personally myself in this county. We had an address that was a mile down the road from where it's loaded into our system. And I worked with our 911 service here at the courthouse. And this is where we're at. And I look at it later and we're still half mile down the road, almost half, 3/4 miles down the road. The other thing we need to consider on the system as a whole is with the E4 system, and I suggested in my report to you guys that there be a team put together with a representative of each department that's going to be affected by this system integration. But even the DA's office, so the sheriff's got the information. Right now they're on net data, right, which they're sharing with the DA and the courts. Now all of a sudden the sheriff is coming off net data, going on to this new system. How's DA getting it and how's the court getting it? There is a module for the court. I don't know if the DA works through the court module. I don't believe we bought the court module based on my review of the contract. But if we just go, I strongly believe that we need to assemble a team with a representative of each department that's going to be affected by this. If not, I'm afraid we're going to get everything. We're going to launch this thing, then we're going to go. We didn't know that DA wasn't going to get us information. He's going to be going insane because they changed the system on him and he's not, doesn't have the same flow of information.
Asked to do away with net data except for the treasurer and auditor.
I did too.
I did too.
Well, that's what he's asking. He's just trying to find out who all's getting it and who's not. So who's gonna communicate and who's not gonna be able to communicate with the E-Force is what he's asking.
Well, who's going to be affected by this change? I mean, I think the perfect example is the sheriff department's going to be out there. They're going to be writing all the reports and all this stuff is going to be going into E-Force, okay? Which historically has been going in through net data, as I understand. The DA's office is working on that data as well as getting hard copies over there. So it's been this way for years, so it's just kind of flowing. Now all of a sudden, the sheriff comes off, and that data goes on to E-Force. How's he getting his information now?
We had to call Ken with E-Force on that because I understood that there would be software that the DA could use to receive
Right.
and share data.
Yeah.
That's what I understood.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. All I know is just as long as we have access, right? Because net data just speaking for myself, for the sheriff's office, mainly what we do is we look at bookends, right? Time credit, if we're playing somebody or see who's in jail, that sort of thing. If there's another link, I guess, that I'm clicking into and getting that information, it's all the same, right? For me. So I don't know exactly how that works, but that would be my understanding. That's kind of what we talked about, is just having access to it is fine. But I'm not really familiar with all the logistics of all of it at this point.
When TIG brings stuff to you, to your office, because they're not on that data. So right now, are they just bringing hard copies, is that right, or?
Yes, sir. You know, I think in the future, it's something that I think this is secondary to what we're doing right now, is we'd be looking at trying to get some type of electronic system worked out, because they're wanting to go, kind of a lot of agencies, I think now, eForce allows them to package it up and send a link, as opposed to TIG driving over with paper copies, or Wortham driving over. Those agencies have that capability now. We just then go to the link and we have to print everything out, right? Create a hard copy, then make copies for defense, for discovery and things of that nature. I think secondarily, where this is going to end up in some year, who knows when, is all that stuff's going to be sent to me electronically, and then I'm going to use a system to upload that electronically. Defense attorneys can log in, and if they want to print it out, they can, right? And then we can, just on the computer, whether we're at home or in the office or whatever, we can access all that data and watch videos and the whole deal. Again, for the solution that I think is the main concern right now, which it may already be solved when we talk to the eForce guy, is just having access to see the bookends and see what is going on jail-wise on the sheriff's office side.
Do you use that data to send files to the?
No, sir.
District court? No.
No, sir. Net data for us is kind of an internal data collection system, I guess. So when they bring a case over on Brian Evans, we take it, we upload it into net data. So now if Brian Evans' mom calls, says, hey, do you have a case on my son? I can get into net data and say, yep, we received it, has the date, has the agency, all those type of things. Then it will track it through us. Then we can look and see if it's indicted and things like that. We can get on the clerk's side and pull off documents if there's an indictment on there, look at all the filings, things like that. So it is integrated in a way where we have access to the clerk's side, the sheriff's side, and we use it as well. But it's less of our side, again, it's more, we use net data, but it's more internal for ourselves. It's just data collection system.
Collection, not sharing.
Yes, sir. I think.
Well, I think that if that's all you need,
That's my understanding.
I would think that'd be easy enough to get you a login for
But
the
isn't
sheriff's
that
side.
data change?
Yeah.
Isn't there big change in that data that's gonna be real expensive, and this was part of the reason for using eForce?
Oh, yes.
In 2024, California court is what net data is going to, and who we're all supposed to be switching over to, was my understanding. You know, we have criminal and civil. I assume y'all need access to those records, so I don't know how that's gonna happen unless we join eForce also.
Another question.
This once again is the reason I strongly believe that there needs to be a committee put together, a task force, if you would, just a special internal committee, representatives each department, because I didn't even think of the clerk's office, you know.
All county courts handle, you know, with.
I mean, especially if net data is going away. This is something that really strategically needs to be processed, flowed through, understanding all the departments are going to be affected and how. I believe, that's my personal opinion.
If that's what we need, then we need to form the committee.
I believe so. With representatives of each department, and not necessarily does it have to be Brian. My belief is that the person that's closest to the process, that's the user of the system, the hands-on person, is who we need to assemble, and then we can feed up to the supervisory level.
Well, we can make a list, and then each department can decide who would be most appropriate to be on your committee.
And schedule a conference call with Ken, so, because y'all have lots of questions for him, and hopefully learn a lot in one short period of time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Number 13 is to accept a donation to Senior Center for from Corsicana Apartment Association for $200.
I make a motion to accept it.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Uh,
Any opposed? None. Motion carried. And we thank the Corsicana Apartment Association. I know the senior services will appreciate it. Item number 14 is to adopt the 2024 Keystone County Resolution Indigent Defense Grant Program. Each year, we do this resolution and send it to the state, and based on this resolution, then they, through their calculations, determine how much they will reimburse us for the Indigent Defense Grant Program. It never is very much, but it's, at least it helps a little bit. And it's for appointment of attorneys for indigent defendants.
Make a motion to adopt that 2024 Keystone County Resolution in Defense Grant Program.
I second.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay. Item number 15 is inmate communications service agreement. First amendment between Crown Correctional Telephone and Keystone County Sheriff's Office. And this is fees received that go to the commissary, is that right, Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Just an agreement between us and the vendor that we use.
Mhm. And the amendment changed the percentages or something there?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. Okay.
Need a motion?
Yes. Enter into that agreement, if there are no
I
questions.
make a motion to enter into that.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 16 is timekeeping system, Inc., which is a master sales agreement. And it is, basically, it doesn't read and record when they check the sales.
Automated system, yes, ma'am.
Automated system.
Yes, ma'am. That's one I mentioned during budget. I was just, I think this is just for the
Yes, we did approve that, but now what we're approving is the agreement.
agreement, and then
Yes.
that way we can start.
We didn't
the-
have the agreement at that time, so
Yes,
we have to
ma'am.
approve that.
And that way we can just start the update on it.
Yes, and we've already got that in your budget.
I'll make a motion. Timekeeping Systems Incorporated agreement.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 17 is to approve a credit application for Whitmer Public Safety Group Incorporated.
This is for the keys.
Okay. And we have to
Elevator
do
keys.
For the
a,
elevator keys?
Yes.
And that, we probably get 2 sets.
2 or 3, I can't remember, I'll have to ask
It was,
however many y'all want to order.
I thought it was 2 sets and then some special ones for our,
one set was for us to keep, and then one set we were buying for Teague. Fairfield is,
We got ours in, we ordered ours and got
Right.
it in.
and we had talked about reimbursing Fairfield Fire for
Yeah.
one set of the elevator keys.
Yeah, we got ours in the other day, I saw them yesterday, so.
and this is just the registration that we have to do in order to get an order.
I'll make a motion to approve that credit application for Whitmer Public Safety Group.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 18 is a resolution approving the appointment to the Board of Directors of the Heart of Texas Housing Finance Corporation. And this is for the Hot Dog region for all 6 counties. And they do have finance corporation that helps, indigent people, they can apply for help with, housing, at a lower rate. So they do give assistance through that program if you qualify. And they need a new person on that board. It's for single-family and multifamily bond financing to promote development of housing stock for, they must be residents of the Hot Cog area. Provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing for persons of low and moderate income at prices they can afford.
This resolution that we're needing to approve is to consider Freestone County to vote for Ben Perry, is that right?
Yes, that's the person that they have nominated to be that, commissioner on that board. And there's a letter from Scott Felton, McLennan County, and he is, they have already approved it, McLennan County Commissioners have approved it.
Just curiosity, we had any Freestone County residents just, utilize this?
Not that I know of. It's
I
available.
have had some calls to my office asking what's available, so, I mean, I don't know if they used them. I refer them
I'm
to
just curious.
211, which also helps them with what helps them set up stuff like that, or tell them where they can call, so.
Yeah.
But I have gotten quite a few calls, and I refer them to 211.
And we get calls in our office about, we refer them, but I don't know if.
I don't know if anything ever
Yeah.
came of it. I'm just curious,
Sure.
since we're included in this.
I know that van out of Waco, that hot dog van, I see it run around everywhere.
The blue bus.
And you know, since you mentioned that, we've talked about this so many times, we need more riders in our county. It doesn't have to be just going to a doctor's appointment. If you don't,
Grocery
if you
store,
need to
anything.
go to the grocery store, then you schedule it, they will pick you up and take you and leave you for how long you want to be there, and then they bring you back.
Your job, court,
If you want to
they'll
go,
take you
yes,
wherever.
and that's something we've not ever thought about using before, but we're going to be using them. Is tell them they can schedule it through them to come to court. So, we'll see how that works out, but.
I think you ought to ride it to court one day.
Do you ever think about it? It's really cheap, and it would be much cheaper if they would pick me up from where I live and bring me up here.
And they will.
That's why driving is not as good. You already talking about that. But we won't go into that.
And they, just to add
criticizing
on
my
to that
driving.
too, since we're talking about it, the last hot dog meeting I was at, they addressed that they're getting a grant to extend even the hours maybe, and maybe on some weekends. So they're working on that, trying to get some grants to extend the hours and weekends.
And you know, they've changed the color of the bus, they've done so many things to try to get people, and I'm not really just talking to y'all, because we've all talked about it, but hopefully somebody on YouTube will see that and they can start using those services, because even to go shopping, just whatever.
And we do
go
have
visit a
that,
friend, you know, it's just available for people to use if they will just use it.
and we have that out on our Facebook page also advertising it.
Yes.
You need a motion.
Yes, we do.
I'll make a motion, approve the resolution approving the appointment of, what, Ben Perry?
Ben Perry.
To the Hot Dog Housing Finance Corporation, as voted ready.
Perfect, thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 19 is to consider a lateral transfer. You know, we've talked about, you can transfer to another office that you had to transfer in at the higher end rate. Well, this is a lateral transfer, so the rate the higher-end amount would still be the same. The question is, you know, we approved a raise for anyone that was an employee at that time. So would that raise then go to that person because that person was an employee at that time? So that's the question.
It would. Lateral move, no salary change, they were an employee that got the raise, all they're doing is lateral move to another office, they get to keep the raise.
Still a county employee?
That's right.
Yeah.
I do know we have had some in the past that when they went to another office, they had to go at the higher end of rate, so whatever precedent we set right now,
I mean, this is a true lateral move.
They're both in the same category, yeah.
Right.
They would be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it says at the higher end amount, so that's not, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that what our current stuff says isn't that, it isn't at the higher end amount.
Do we have that written somewhere? I'll look for that.
It's on that pay scale and
Oh,
it is in the
Yeah,
policy,
it's a great one.
and it's in the policy also.
And it's in the what?
I believe it's in the policy also.
Okay. We need to look at that, probably
Change that if we.
change some things in there.
Yes.
But the lateral move, what we're talking about on that is they're both in the same hiring category. Yeah, so that's not the question that would stand, other than
The raise.
the rest. Yeah.
I mean, if there was some way that the pay scale could be addressed to reflect the money that's been added in, I know like the dispatchers did, and I think the sheriff's departments went up, but our courthouse one has not ever hardly changed, and so if y'all could address the pay scale to, you know, reflect that, it would.
And find out where that other is written, and let's look at that policy too and bring it back.
I'll make a motion that we allow the lateral transfer, allow the employee to keep their raise because they were an employee.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 20, proclamation supporting Operation Green Light in Freestone County. And November the 6th through November the 12th is the time when we are honoring and showing support by lighting our lights green for armed forces. Whereas the residents of Freestone County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who serve in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Freestone County seeks to honor those individuals who have paid the high price for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all, and whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and county veteran service officers to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, and whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, and whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas Freestone County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be given. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Freestone County Commissioners Court, duly acting in its capacity as a governing body of Freestone County, hereby proclaims November 6th through November 12th as Operation Green Light for Veterans in Freestone County, and be it further proclaimed that in observance of Operation Green Light for Veterans, the Freestone County Courthouse trees will be lit green, and be it further proclaimed that all citizens in Freestone County are encouraged to recognize and honor all those who have made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying a green light in a window of their place of business or residence. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Remember to get your green light out. All right, any comments from Commissioners, Court members? Oh, yeah.
Wake up, Kelly. Wake up.
Martin, Fire Department brush truck grant.
Yes, ma'am. So, just to give you a little quick background on this, that, you know, we've been on this list with the state for years. And, we actually, they give so many, they award so many grants a year. And we had actually, 5 years ago, got up to number 11. And they decided they were gonna redo the scoring system, and it knocked it back down to 25.
Yeah.
And so with, I don't know if a lot of it, I think is from Leonard and I, we met with Forestry Service people multiple times. I think hopefully part of our pushing them, talking about the scoring system, the way it was done, it wasn't fair at all. And so they actually made a bunch of changes to the scoring system. So they had their funding meeting last week. We were actually number 13 before the meeting. At the time the meeting started, we got bumped up to number 7. So we were awarded a grant for a large brush truck. 90% of the cost not to exceed $240,000. So they will pay up to, the state will pay up to $240,000 for the truck. We put a committee together to design the truck. They haven't made a decision yet. I know Leonard's one of the guys on the committee doing the designs, talking to vendors, getting specs, and then we'll get quotes and all that. Obviously, we'll bring them to y'all and decide who we're gonna go with. I think it's probably gonna be like a Ford F600. It'll have to have a minimum of 500 gallons of water on it. I don't remember all the specs off the top of my head, but I guess what I'm here asking y'all for today is for the matching portion of that grant, the 10%, which could be up to $24,000. But all in all,
And again, you're talking about this, we could approve doing that, but we probably wouldn't be spending that money until next budget or next budget.
you know, depending on, and I don't know how it's gonna work with the benefits that go through, that's probably order the truck. I don't know if we'll have to make like a down payment or something, it's possible that we will. I can't answer those questions right now until the guys meet with the vendors who end up, deciding who we're gonna go with, and then they tell us what the requirements are gonna be, and then we can always bring that back to y'all then. I guess what I was asking for today is maybe just approve up to the 10% portion of that, which would be up to $24,000. It may not be that much, it may be less, depending on what the truck ends up costing. I know material goes up constantly. I know Richland just got theirs, took them 2 years to get it.
That's what I was wondering, how long it would take just to get the truck.
Well, so when Richland ordered their truck, they told me it took them 18 months to get it, the chassis. Now, I think Skeeter told Leonard the other day that they're getting them in 6 months, once they order them.
Yeah.
But a lot of that depends on strikes and, all the stuff going on now in the auto industry, so, it's kind of really hard to say until they get it ordered and then we'll see when it comes in. I don't know what they're gonna ask for. I would think that they would ask for some type of payment on something before they just order a chassis, but they may not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
I spoke to both, 2 different vendors, and they don't want payment until we take delivery of the vehicle.
So it could be at least a year, maybe.
How long did it take to get the one for for something else that time.
A long time. They got their grant
It
awarded
it
in.
took 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
So will you need the county to pay for the truck? Because normally we pay for the whole truck
More than
and
likely,
then get
yeah.
reimbursed and then, okay, so we would have to budget that, okay.
I would imagine so, would be my guess.
Well, I would say at this time, certainly we are supportive of helping you all with the grant. We can't set a definite amount since we don't know what it is,
Right.
but when you come back with that amount, I feel like you want to make a motion that we will support him and support them in getting the grant.
I would like that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Thank y'all very much. And like I said, as soon as
How
we,
wonderful, we were looking at that before. And
right.
noticing-
Well, I know we had we had a lot of discussions about it, and, which we've already planned on. The day we deliver the truck, we'll be setting up inspection dates with the Forestry Service. So hopefully the day that the truck is delivered, our fire station, Forestry Service will be there to do the inspection. And at that point, that's when they release the funds. They have to inspect the truck once we get it. And then they release the funds from the state. And I'm thinking when they say it's like 2 weeks once it's approved to get the check.
Yeah, about 2 weeks, they'll send the check to us and then we'll just.
But it may be within 6 months that they actually get the truck, you think?
The chassis,
The chassis?
yeah.
Then they have to build a truck.
Then they have to build.
So probably looking at a year.
I'm gonna say it's at least gonna be, I don't see it happening
Just
next year.
just thinking about the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, because we haven't ordered anything yet, they're still working on it. And so you're
We'll
looking at,
probably bring us an update when we're doing budget next year.
Yeah, be sure we don't it doesn't fall through the cracks.
Right.
And
now I'll keep y'all updated, and as soon as the committee meets with vendors, and then they decide on what truck they're going with, and then we accept the quote on whatever vendor it is. I'm guessing it's probably gonna be Skeeters, but I don't know that, simply because Skeeters out of Hillsborough, they're close. We can go look at it as a building, without having to fly to Kansas or something. But yeah, we'll definitely keep y'all updated, and if I can't be here for some reason, I'll make sure that I send the paperwork with Clyde, or give it to you, or Whitford, or whoever. So, all right, thank y'all very much. Y'all
Thank you.
good.
Any other comments then from commissioners, board members?
What the two, they called us about the grant they got. I don't know, it's not on the agenda, but when we,
Side by side.
yeah. What do we need? Get that on the agenda, or what do we need?
Yeah,
to
I
do?
think they're gonna be on the next agenda.
Okay, I didn't know where we stood.
Yeah,
I just,
last time I talked to
I didn't want
Brian,
it, because Brian called me, I didn't get to talk to you, and I didn't want to, I didn't know, it's gonna be next agenda.
Next agenda, what Brian
And
said.
they can answer those questions about that.
Yes.
And I talked to Ron, he called me about it too.
Yeah.
Just from what I know about that, I know they're waiting on some clarification back. Yeah, as far as some questions.
Yeah. I didn't know, okay, so next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Encore is supposed to be putting some new bigger power lines over the interstate and over Highway 75. And the interstate's gonna be north of mile marker 198, between 198 and 199, November the 1st to the 4th. They said they'll be staying in the right of way, using special equipment to get the power over, not shutting down the interstate. They said they could be slowing traffic down on 75 periodically, November 1st to the 4th. And Oakwood Fire Department has their annual barbecue fundraiser this weekend, Saturday morning.
If you haven't voted, you need to go vote on these amendments. You need to study them, read them. There's several on there that have to do with the surplus of funds that the state has right now. And it concerns me, when that money's gone, and we created these things, where's the money gonna come from? So you need to read it and go vote. That's all I got.
Trick or treating tonight at the Fairfield Fire Station. If you got little kids and need to bring them out. So we'll be set up handing out candy.
Is there age limit?
No. And then we'll even hopefully if the weather permits, we'll have the bounce house set up, so you can even jump the bounce house.
We did find out over, during the boo on the square, we did find out that if you throw free candy out there, everybody's coming, no matter if it's rain, sleet, hail, or snow. This place was packed, and it was pouring down
Yeah, I thought it was
rain.
raining there.
Man,
You,
Make a motion we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, aye. That was a 7-0.